I'm sorry he's not here right now. Morning, Cindy.
Not a problem. Hey, there's a...
Wouldn't you just love to go into work tomorrow and give somebody a wedgie? Wouldn't that be great? I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. If you see Eddie, don't tell him. We'll let it be a surprise for him. How about that? Monday, the most dreaded day of the week, especially the Monday after Christmas, the Monday after vacation. It's tough, isn't it? We're all sugared up and caffeined up, and our sleep habits are all messed up. Either we've been sleeping late or we have kids and we have to get up real early to see what Santa brought them. It's just all messed up, isn't it? And then you have to go back to work and get in a routine. Dreadful, isn't it? Just dreadful. That's the way we see it. Going to work is being dreadful a lot of times. Well, guess what? That's not God's plan. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is going back to work. Getting a lot of fun out of our Mondays. And yes, giving somebody a wedgie would be fun to do on a Monday. But no, somehow along the way, we have gotten to where we have dreaded work. Work is a 4-letter word, right? Technically it is a 4-letter word, but we see it as a bad word. And that's not God's plan. That was not how He originally intended it. And I want us to look at one of the 10 commandments. It's actually the 4th commandment. And if you have your Bibles, you can turn to it. If not, you can watch it on the screen. Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11. Most of us know this commandment, but it's a 2-part commandment, and we tend to miss one part of it. It says, "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or your daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But He rested on the 7th day. Therefore God blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy." This commandment is actually a view of God's character. We see God's character in this commandment. And it's a 2-part commandment. All we ever hear is remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, right? Don't do any work on the Sabbath day. Great, I don't have to work one day of the week. But the first part of the commandment, go back and look at it, is verse 9. It says, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. That's a command. God commands us to work. That's part of that commandment. It's a 2-part commandment. He wants us to work, but He also wants us to rest. That's the plan. So what is work? I mean, how do we define work? We probably have 800 people in here right now, and I could ask every one of you to give me a description of work, and you would all probably give me a different answer. Got some folks on the screen I want you to watch and see what their view of work is.
The human being was created to be alive. And you can't be alive and be a couch potato.
Word work. Work is a bummer.
Work is very important.
It needs to be done.
A big thing in everybody's life.
Work is something you do to survive.
At the moment, the word work
is slightly depressing.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of work is what a person does for money.
It's a thing we do for money because we have to.
And I think that work is essential.
If nobody works, we have nothing.
You have to make your money or you're not going to do anything. You're not going to have any money for food or shelter.
Some people live to work and others work to live.
One shouldn't overwork. There have been multiple studies done that excessive work leads to depression and a state of sadness.
It's really hard to get a job.
I work in the restaurant. If I don't work, nobody can eat.
Just from an economic, practical standpoint, if everyone took that point of view and just said, whatever, and didn't take the initiative, the economy would plummet.
Work is a lot of energy focused on a task that you might not always care about.
Work is great.
So you have to go out there and do something you like to do or sometimes not what you like to do.
The trick is to find something where you live to do the work you love.
Work is sweaty.
My work is not really important.
My job brought me to love myself.
I love what I do. It's technical, it's rather esoteric at times.
Work is a big word.
There are people who work in volunteer roles.
You produce goods of value to others or services of value to others.
Everybody should work that is able to work.
I hate work. I hate it. There's a reason I make my living at acting.
I literally wake up smiling, knowing I get to go to my work.
And you can progress humanity depending on the kind of work you do.
I just got tired of playing the game, so I decided to work for myself.
I have no idea what I want to do in the future. The work I'm doing at the moment isn't particularly interesting.
I worked from the time I was 5 years old, and I believe that my health is good because I haven't been afraid to work.
God will provide, but not to those who are unwilling to try and provide for themselves.
Work is for money, and you use the money to go and do the things that you're interested in.
I like to work.
I'm always learning something new.
I actually love to meet different people in all walks of life.
Yeah, I have a positive view of work. I mean, I've had jobs now and there. I've had different kinds of jobs.
I love tattooing. It saved my life, kind of, changed me.
Oh, yes. I work way too much because I love work.
I've learned to do what I believe God has wired me to do. And I do it to glorify Him first, and then He then sends clientele to me that would then enable me to glorify Him further.
I worked at Safeway, Hot Topic, and now I'm doing insulation now, and I really like it.
Find a job that you love to do and do it well, and financial benefit is just a natural byproduct.
Man needs to get out there and take the initiative to work for the good of the economy in general and for the good of himself.
Man needs to get out there and work for the good of the economy and the good for himself. Of all the people on that video, which person made the most sense? Kyle, the 13-year-old. Let me tell you a little something about Kyle. Kyle probably hadn't worked a day in his life. He's only 13 years old. And Kyle is severely autistic. But Kyle gets it. You know why? Because the principle is very simple. We are an image of God, and God is a worker. So it's His plan for us to work. What we want to talk about today is I want to make tomorrow one of the best days you're ever going to have. Mondays, we should look forward to Monday instead of dreading them, because it's God's plan and His purpose for us to have joy in our work. Look at our first point. God has created us to create. God has created us to create. Is your work important? Do you think your work is important? Again, of all the hundreds of people we have in here, there's probably hundreds of different jobs that are represented here. Do you feel like your job is important? I think my job is very important, what I do. A lot of people don't. You may think I have a mundane job. I work in an office, or and you're bored with it, and you think you don't make a difference. Well, I want to tell you about a guy who had a rather mundane job. He was just a printer. He worked making copies of stuff. His name is Gutenberg. That was his last name. Anybody ever heard of Gutenberg? Yeah. Gutenberg, according to Life magazine, they voted, and he had the single greatest invention of the entire millennium. It wasn't a computer, it wasn't the internet, it wasn't a car, it wasn't an airplane. It was the printing press, is what Gutenberg invented. Before Gutenberg had invented this printing press, there were about 50,000 books on the face of the earth. And within no time, there were 10 million. Just like that. And what was the first book that he printed off of that press? The Bible. The Bible. He changed everything. If you've got a Bible in your lap right now, thank Mr. Gutenberg. If you have one of our M&Ms in your hand right now, thank Mr. Gutenberg. They were all printed. Before, it took 1 year for a scribe to copy a copy of the Bible. And can you imagine how expensive that is and how rare there were copies of the Bible around? Now you could shoot them off like crazy. Gutenberg had a normal job. He just worked as a printer. He made copies of stuff. But he wanted to find a way to glorify God in his work.